Welcome to Nasdaq TradeTalks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Coming to you live in New York City from SmartCon. Joining us for the segment, we have Carlos Domingo, co-founder and CEO of Securitize. We're here to discuss why ensuring reliability, compliance, and interoperability becomes critical as tokenized markets continue on their growth path. It's great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me again.
And of course, tokenization has been one of the biggest themes in digital assets this year. What's driving that momentum and why are investors and institutions attracted to it now?
I think it started last year, to be honest with you, in 2024. I think that when we released the product with BlackRock, it was a eye-opening for the industry that the largest asset manager in the world was embracing tokenization and started to actively participate. And then many other financial institutions have come after, like Apollo. We recently announced a project with BNY, Vanek, etc. And it also, of course, the change in regulatory policy in the government with the SEC providing more regulatory clarity towards tokenization, the role of the transfer agents, broker dealers, etc. This is what's driving the momentum in the industry.
Yeah, it really has. And let's talk about Securitize specifically here. You're helping financial institutions to bring assets chain. What makes your approach stand out, enabling that type of transition?
Well, we've been around for close to 8 years now. We're fully regulated entity, so we act as a service provider. We have a registered transfer agent with SEC, a broker dealer, investor advisor. We're a very large fund administrator, etc. So I think that provides peace of mind to institutions to be able to transact through us, through a regulated entity. And then, of course, our history and reputation and the fact that we're the largest platform in the industry, it helps continue driving the momentum.
Yeah, you mentioned, having that framework in place is certainly helping to catalyze the industry. As tokenization markets continue to grow, of course, with compliance, transparency, interoperability, they're going to be critical.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
What are the biggest challenges that you're hearing when it comes to either making that switch or integrating legacy platforms with on-chain?
I think there is still a lot of more challenges than people think, right? Because, essentially when you put things on chain, you're completely changing the underlying ledger technology where the securities live and where they transact and what they settle. And traditional platforms don't necessarily integrate well with that. So for the time being, what we're seeing is kind of like an emergence of a tokenized industry that's kind of like a little bit disconnected from the traditional platforms, and only the asset managers are kind of like moving across to be able to move their assets into this new platform, as opposed to just like commingling the old with the new.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because these markets are scaling, right? I mean, you're going to, going to be a SPAC if you listed on Nasdaq, which is showing you how crypto and crypto adjacent companies are becoming more mainstream, accessing the public markets and so forth. Before we get into why you're accessing the public markets, let's talk about the technologies that provide security, the governance, all the things that institutions need to operate in this.
Well, there is a lot of things institutions need, right? So they need, as we mentioned at the beginning, first regulatory clarity. They need to make sure that putting their assets on chain is legal and regulated, and then we check the box there. But they also need to be able to interact with the assets, right? They need to be able to have stable coins, which now are becoming regulated in the US again through the Genius Act. They need to be able to have qualified custodians that can hold the assets. They need to have trading platforms that are integrated. So there's a number of market participants that are still not fully integrated with tokenization. But it's happening. It's coming online, and the more regulated institutions are adopting the technology. So it's just a matter of time.
It goes back to coming public via a SPAC, right? So which that really shows the integration of both worlds, right?
Oh, 100%. Look, we're going to tokenize our own equity, but we also want to tap traditional capital markets, right? Which at the end of the day, they still exist and they're still very liquid. We think that on chain offers other advantages and eventually will be bigger, but that's not where we are today. So I think tapping the best of both worlds is an ideal situation for us.
And I think that's how the industry's matured versus us versus them.
Oh, yeah.
And the integration model, you're going to get scale, you're going to have the nimble capabilities that these newer companies bring on. So when you look ahead and you think about tokenization and what it looks like as it evolves in the next few years, what do you think the environment's going to look like?
For us, it's never been us versus them. We always wanted to be kind of like a bridge between TradFi and crypto, right? Like the company that sits in between, that gives peace of mind for a traditional finance company to adopt all these great technologies that have been developing in crypto over the years. And I think that is a better approach, right? Than trying to compete each other, or try to eliminate the other people, etc. So I think that these two industries will coexist. You will see more, people moving across them with regular intermediaries like us, and I think that's a better future.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the ethos has changed in the industry
It has.
for sure. As you're starting to see these projects where, the use cases are becoming reality now.
Which is a good thing, by the way,
Yeah.
because for many years, crypto had a great technology, a great promise, but the things that were happening there were not like real, as you said. So now we see real adoption, like we see real assets being put on chain, real institutions coming into the space, real investors adopting this technology innovations, and that's actually a good thing. It's going to help the industry mature and become 10 times bigger than it is.
I appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks.
Thank
And
you.
thanks for joining me from SmartCon. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.